Hey everybody, welcome to another fun-filled episode of your favorite podcast, Analog Stick Radio. I am your host, Mitch, and as always, I am joined by these two... I don't even know what you'd call them at this point. They're just these two guys. These two guys, and we're just having a good time. Over to my left, I have the Girth from Lake Worth. Chris, how are we doing today?
Oh, yes.
What the girth?
Don't deny it, Christopher.
Chris, that can be taken in many different ways, and I think all of them are positive.
I think you're right.
Yep. And then down below me, I have El Fuego from San Diego, Dakota.
Hot.
Hot. How is it over there? How are you holding it up? Is it hot over there?
It's kind of rainy. I hate to be a contrarian.
Chris, is the Californian trying to tell the Floridians about rain? Because I don't know if he's actually allowed to talk about it.
Oh,
I think we saw rain for the first time in many, many months. Many months.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about it. It's almost summer in Florida. Like,
are you catching it to fill up your toilet bowl with it? Like, can't you not use toilets over there?
Exactly. That's right.
Oh my god, is that actually like a thing?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
There's a giant drought going on in California.
Oh yeah, the drought. You know, it's so funny you mention the drought. Every time. I'm telling you, Chris,
I'm a nut over here. Like,
Chris, this is how much the drought really means to the average San Diegan. Like, it's the furthest thing from most of our minds. And then you'll run into somebody at a party who's like, don't you know we're having a drought? And it's like, just shut the fuck up, please. Please.
I like how he's like, oh yeah, the drought.
Yeah.
It's such a random thing to say. All right, guys. So this week, Chris and I played a game. It was an experience. Other than that, however, I played a lot of that fighting game that I always like to start and stop over and over again. I played a lot of Rivals of Aether. It was a lot of fun. They introduced this new character. He's like a polar bear with a metal jaw.
Nice.
And
nice.
He's really...
They're all
oh my
animals,
god,
right,
tell
in
me
that
his
game?
name is Molar Bear.
I actually
Molar
don't know
bear.
what his name is. I pay very little attention
Bear.
to... I pay very little attention to their names. But yeah, he's got a lot of really interesting mechanics. Most of them involve ice, obviously. Game is really fun. I still am seeing like no improvement from their servers, but again, that may just be me. So I'm not quick to judge them yet. But I mean, overall, the game's pretty fun. They still haven't initiated like a map selection when you're playing online. It's just kind of random, and that kind of is annoying.
That's a drag, man.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating.
A custom match? Can you
What's that?
pick?
No, when you go online, it's literally just like online, and the only thing you can do is like versus. I also failed to mention that Rivals of Aether is one of the early access games. Like from last week when we were talking about them, I completely failed to mention that I've been playing this game in alpha.
I mean, it's so hard. We try and keep our episodes pretty short. Just want to go over these things, so it's hard to like mention all the things we always want to talk about.
Yeah, it's tough. But yeah, overall, I mean, the game seems to be improving. I don't know of any release date. I haven't looked into it. I'm extremely lazy when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'm still enjoying the game. It's still a lot of fun. Chris, what did you play this week besides that game that we played?
There were two things I played. One was a indie game I finally got around to. It's called Downwell. It's kind of like a Binding of Isaac. It's a roguelike, but basically it's old 8-bit style, and the screen is very thin because it's a well. You start the game by running into a well and falling down a well. And you're falling the whole time, and your point is to try and get as far down as you can. And
that's cool.
And like you shoot your feet bullets down, and you reload
as
by
you
land.
do. As you do.
Of course, obviously, as every person does. And when you land on like the different platforms as you're falling down, that's how you reload. So then you jump back, and then you shoot again, and you could like some people you could jump on, others you have to like they're spiky, so you can't jump on them. You get like some some kind of cool upgrades, like ones like if you get a gem that like bursts out of the enemies you kill, like it'll shoot a bullet up when you collect a gem, which you're only shooting down all the time. And they have a couple different characters. It's like $2.99 on Steam. It's great.
The game looks crazy, man.
Yeah, it's not
like
as
a
deep.
Fusion. But I was gonna say it's like a fusion between like Endless Runner and roguelike.
Yeah, very similar to that. It's not as deep as like Binding of Isaac by any means. Like it doesn't have like that kind of itemization, but it's definitely worth your time. Like for $2.99, it's 100% worth it. But what I've been playing a lot of, and a lot of people have been playing. I got our friend Aaron hooked on it. He sent me a text earlier. He's like, "I hate you for this." Clash Royale.
Chris, you tried to get me on this. No,
they have been talking about Clash Royale on the Giant Bombs Bombcast for like weeks and weeks and weeks. Yeah,
dude, I don't know. I thought it came out in like March, dude. It's so much fun. It's an unbelievable amount of fun, man.
No,
and it's not even that pay to win. It's
a mobile game for anybody that doesn't know. It's an iOS and Android game, right?
It's you kind of get it's one team, one base versus another base. You have like 2 towers and then like a main castle or whatever. And basically you have a slew of like 8 different units you could pick, and then you throw out the units into a lane at different points, and then the units just kind of automatically start pushing. But the units have different attributes. Like there's a Valkyrie chick who does a cleaving attack. And then there's like a spell that you summon like 20 skeletons. So they'll overwhelm like a big giant guy who's good at sieging. But if you play the Valkyrie who does the spinning attack, like it blows through them. And then there's like a couple other spells and stuff. So it's really, there's a lot of like rock, paper, scissor. But you make this deck, kind of a deck of these 8 cards. Deck? Yeah, Mitch is. Yeah, it doesn't have to be technically.
His ears perk up as soon as you say deck. He's like, oh, I'm interested.
A deck? But it's like, a deck of cards.
You could just make it a unit anyway. It doesn't have to be a deck, but you just get these 8 units and like configure your own little style. And then the higher up you go in the arena, the more you win. Like you get to unlock different cards from the chest that you get. So like every couple hours, that's the pay to win kind of thing. Is that after you win a game, you unlock a chest, right? You only have like 4 chest slots. And the chests take like 3 hours to unlock. Or like the golden chest takes 8 hours to unlock, and there's like a magical chest.
Oh, this is made by the Clash of Clans guys.
Yeah, Clash Royale. It's got like, all the same Clash of Clans like
it's got the same graphic style, the same characters.
But like it's an action game, and it's a lot of fun. It's super fun. And the game takes like 3-4 minutes.
I've heard it described as a tower offense game.
Yeah, definitely
tower offense. That's
a great way to describe it.
That's people we take a genre name and then we change it a little bit, and
people who play a lot of StarCraft custom maps games.
Counter-Strike kids, super in it.
It's exactly like Counter-Strike. No, man. But like custom maps in StarCraft. I don't know, like Desert Strike or like Colonial Line Wars. Stuff like that.
Line Wars. I haven't played a Line Wars game in years.
Yeah. It's similar to like a Line
lot
Wars.
Like Infos. Shit, man. It just occurred to me.
It's so much fun.
Dakota, what did you play, man? Did you play this shitty mobile game, or did you actually play a man's game?
I might play that shitty multiplayer game next week.
It's so good.
I've heard too many good things. Like if I hear it once, it's like okay, but now I've heard it from several different sources independently that it's good, so I have to try it.
I mean, I just downloaded it too, so I smell a Metabet.
Oh man, please let's not do a mobile Metabet.
God.
I played this week. Dude, it's been a busy week in the real life. I think the only game I played this week was tabletop, some Magic. I think that's all
Dakota,
I played. More tabletop.
I just fell in love with you, man.
God bless that piece of software. I tell you what,
it's a great piece of software, man. The amount of things that I've done with Tabletop Simulator that I have not ever had the time to do is insane.
I don't think we want to know about all the things you've done on the Tabletop Simulator.
There are some weird things that I have done on Tabletop Simulator.
I'll tell you, Chris. You can put an iPad on the table and open up any web page.
Web page, Christopher.
Oh man.
Let your mind wander while we wander over to the main topic. All right. So now today we're gonna take it a little bit easy. We're gonna start. I guess what we've decided to do is as a 2-part series. Today we're going to be talking about a sub-genre of RPGs. Now, if you don't know what an RPG is, it is a role-playing game. You're kind of dumped in this world. You play as either one or a couple people. You level up. You find items. You get better at whatever these guys are doing. You go on a quest. You beat the quests. I mean, that seems like guys, I leave anything out? That's the general RPG, like...
That's good. That's a good
RPG starting point.
Nutshell.
Basic, like, this is what you do in an RPG, you know? So, there are a lot of different ways, I guess, that you can go with RPGs. And the way that we're going to talk about today is this little subgenre called JRPGs. Now, when we first started talking about this...
This is, yeah...
I was like, okay, so what is a JRPG? And they were like, Dakota and Chris were telling me a couple things about it, like characteristics that it had. I was like, oh, okay, so it's like this. No. So we're going to try to break it down for you, but it's not going to be easy. So
apparently it's not as easy as we thought.
We thought Dakota this was going to be simple.
I wish we could have recorded this conversation, because I think Dakota mentioned it's kind of like trying to explain color to a blind person at one point to Mitch. Like,
yeah, I was blind as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, man. Like, I came in thinking that I knew what JRPG meant, and it turns out that the definition is pretty fucking nebulous. Like, it's all over the place. Different people have different ideas about what it means.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about what it meant to each of us, or means to each of us. I'm going to talk about what it meant to me, because I think my opinion has changed a little bit based on what I've read and researched. I did some polling of the internet. I went to internet.com and clicked the polls tab and asked some people about what they thought a JRPG was. I'm going to read you just a few, some of my favorites.
Oh, God.
I've got, so a JRPG, loudmouth teenagers trying to save the world.
That's relatively accurate.
That's in the checkbox.
Yep, check. Kind of an alternative to that. I think I like this verbiage better. A group of teenagers using the power of friendship to kill God.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. It's not a JRPG unless you kill a deity at the end. So check.
Yeah, definitely.
One or more. One or more. Like
one or more. Yeah. Or maybe one several times in a row.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's definitely also check.
Yep. Check. JRPGs are usually turn-based. ... Also pointy eyes.
Okay.
They are usually turn-based. That's a very important feature of JRPGs, is that they are usually turn-based.
Usually turn-based. Often turn-based or often menu-based. And finally, teen angst and focus group-friendly cute anthropomorphs.
A lot of anthropomorphic protagonists.
So that's what the internet thinks makes a JRPG a JRPG.
Oh, my God.
Chris, let's start with you. What do you think makes a JRPG a JRPG?
Well, like everybody role-playing games, we go back to kind of like D&D, where you make a character and then you like get all these stats. When I think JRPG, I definitely think stats on characters, but I don't ever think about character creation. I think about following kind of the story of an already established kind of group and leading them. And so you're taking... It's not like an RPG where you create the role, it's more you're taking on the role of these people and somewhat manipulating them as opposed to becoming them. That and so when I think of JRPG, I think of a group of people on an adventure and map or like menu-based combat where you have to like, it's a turn-based, like it's like, okay, it's your turn to attack, and then you cycle through your menu, attack or like defend or magic item or like regular item or switch out your characters, and then an animation goes, like usually a really badass animation, and then it goes to the next person's turn. That's what I think of as JRPG. Like, that's the thing that comes into my mind. Menu-based combat and a group of people on an adventure.
That's definitely what it meant to me, at least when I came in. I was thinking, like, menu-based combat, a large world, but not necessarily an open world. An epic story, where you're saving the world. It always seems like you are saving the very existence of the whatever world you happen to be on.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the patterns seem to be like the loner or like the person who doesn't know that they're like the chosen one and they are the chosen one. There's like a lot of Neo kind of tropes. Not always, of course, but definitely often there are some Neoisms.
Yeah, the least expected hero is the hero.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, God, I didn't really know what a JRPG was. I'd heard the term thrown around, and I guess I've played, not a lot, but quite a few. And obviously turn-based combat, obviously, you know, a group of people, but Dakota, as you said, it's always like you're saving the world. And for me, it was always like, I always feel like with a JRPG as opposed to like other RPGs, I'm just playing a story. I'm not really, like, Chris, you said that you're kind of like affecting the outcome or you're like making choices for these people, but I never really feel like I am. I really feel like I'm just like playing the story and then sometimes there's turn-based combat. That's to me, that's what a JRPG is.
I don't feel like I'm changing the story. I'm manipulating them throughout the story. Like maybe I'm making a person kind of more fightery than roguey or something. Like I'm not making a giant, like that's why I didn't say change. Like manipulate, just kind of messing with them as they're on their quest.
It just seems very scripted. Like you can't really go anywhere that they don't want you to go until they want you to go there. You can't really do anything they don't want you to do until they want you to do it. And some, I guess, JRPGs have like some text you can choose from, but for the most part, all the text is relatively scripted.
Yeah. For the most part, you don't make a lot of choices in a JRPG typically. That seems to be more of a trope in a Western RPG where you're making like morality choices or dialogue choices as like a core function of the game. That's very Western in idea.
Yeah,
definitely.
That definitely comes. We could talk about Western RPGs another day, but I think that's definitely the idea of the Western RPG that's different from the JRPG, where you're kind of making your own character. You're getting into the role. Where, like Mitch said, in the JRPG, you're kind of just like along for the ride. Almost.
Right.
Absolutely.
The world's already built and falling apart, and you're just kind of going through the motions to fix it.
Yes.
And kill God.
That's actually, and kill God.
Yeah.
And that's the definition that I kind of landed on. Chris, you completely nailed where I wound up when you said that JRPGs are more about experiencing something from a third person perspective. And in a Western, it's more about being somebody and like having that kind of first person experience. And I don't mean camera angles. I just mean like, you know,
you like embody that character.
Yeah, you are the hero. But like when you play Skyrim, who do you play as? You play as you. You play as like the nameless protag that doesn't really have a story of their own. Like you're a dragon. What the fuck?
You're the Dragonborn. Like you're
the Dragonborn. But it's like, who am I? I'm Dakota. Like, I'll name my dude my own name. You know, you make your guy how you want
to make him. You get to pick, like, your race. Like, you could either be, like, a lizard man, you could be a woman. Like, you could just be anything you want.
Complete customization. I actually, Extra Credit, the YouTube series, has an awesome video series on the differences between J and W.
I want to go back.
What are you laughing about?
Real quick, because I realized my funny contra. Like, you're gonna be the lizard man or a woman. Like those are the two extremes.
Lizard man or woman. Those are the choices.
And not lizard man or lizard woman. Lizard man or regular
or
woman.
Weird things you could be.
Yep. Yeah, no, I guess that's just something that I never really thought about, is that JRPGs, normally you're not playing as one person, you're playing as a group of people. You're playing as like a band of adventurers.
Yeah.
Right. So these extra credit videos, they talked about how it's kind of weird that we define genre based on mechanics, and how a lot of people, when they talk about these two genres, that's the trap that they fall into, and that instead we should think about genres based on what they called core aesthetics, basically what the game is trying to make you feel, or how it's trying to reach the player on an enjoyment level. And so in that regard, Japanese role-playing games and Western ones do two totally different things. As we said, JRPGs, they're about narrative. They're about telling a story from the third person. And as you said, Mitch, oftentimes you don't even play as a person. You play as a group of people, because it's the group story. It's not just Zydan's story. It's Zydan and it's Vivi and it's Freya. You know, it's everybody's story. And with a Western RPG, it's your story. It's about fantasy and expression, and it's about being something that you're really not in real life, and kind of being anything you want to be.
Hey, I could be a lizard man in real life. Really
interesting. Oh, well, yeah. For most people, it's a fantasy. For some of us, you know, we're just awesome all the time.
I could be a woman in real life too. Like, I could try. I could really
you
try.
You can identify as whatever you want, and I can't judge you.
I'm identifying as a lizard man for this episode, so that's happening. So what are some of the aspects of these JRPGs? Like all the different things that we've broken down. What are some of the aspects that you guys particularly like? Chris?
I really like the open world, like the closed open world, I'm going to call it, in a JRPG.
The makeshift open world.
It's more like it leads you through this open world. It's kind of almost like
they fake it.
Like a Metroidvania, where like you have the whole map open and you can only go to certain parts at certain times. Like as opposed to Skyrim,
kind of is like that in a way.
What?
I said it kind of is like that in a way when you think about it. They gate the map based on the tech that you've got so far. It might be more narrative driven, like now I got the airplane or whatever.
Exactly, or maybe it's like, oh, now God has made this volcano explode, so now we can only get past this mountain that was impassable before. So
yeah, totally.
I really enjoy that aspect where it's not like Skyrim, because I would play Skyrim or something, and I'd go into an area, and I'd be like, all right, I'm going to show up here as like a level 1. It's like, welcome to the Wizard College. We have these like magical forces that we need help doing. And I'm like, dude, I just came out of like a cottage. Like, how am I going to help you guys? Like, I don't have anything. At least in a JRPG, it kind of leads you and it's like, okay, this is an actual progression. Like, the story is making me go this way. And so that when I get to this certain part of the world, it's usually crafted to be of the same kind of caliber that I'm feeling. Like, you always fight the bunnies and, like, the rats at the beginning of every RPG, but it makes sense. You're at the beginning of your adventure. It's not like you get thrown right away into the demon spawn village.
But I want to get thrown right away into the demon spawn. That sounds awesome.
I mean, there probably is an RPG out there for you that you start in demon spawn villages.
There's so
like,
many,
I don't want to pussyfoot around it. Just throw me into demons, man. I'm a lizard man.
You don't start in, like, you don't just start in, like, Diablo's lair. You start in, like, the imp's Sexytime room.
Yeah. Or the scullery. Or the basement.
Yeah.
Or the imp Sexytime room.
The scullery?
Scullery. Isn't that like an old-timey word for like
scullery?
A dirty place?
I'm picturing like the spooky Disney animation with all the like skeletons dancing around, like filling up like skulls with brew. Popping caps.
Scullery, a small kitchen or room at the back of a house used for washing dishes and other dirty household work. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
Chris, you should have
the scullery where you're like killing rats.
You should have known that being an old man. That's like right up your alley. That's your vocabulary. Yeah. So things I like about JRPGs. First of all, can I say boobs? Is that like okay?
You just did, Mitch. Just
I'm
go
getting
with it.
in it. Yes. Yeah, boobs are okay.
Because there's a lot of boobs in JRPGs.
Boobs are okay.
And normally they're very well programmed. But no, for me, it feels
those physics though.
It feels like one of the reasons I like JRPGs a lot is I love turn-based combat. Turn-based combat is like the video game version of Magic. Like I can think about my turn.
Here we go.
I can think about my turn. I can like really analyze what I want to do and kind of plan out the entire fight. Like at my whim. Like it's great. One of the reasons I don't like playing fighting games so much is because I don't feel like I'm very good like on the fly. I'm not going to make good decisions. I'm going to make hasty ones and they're going to be bad. But when you give me like a minute to just like break the whole thing down, I can, make some shit happen. So that's one of the things
Play like Magic, right?
Yeah, exactly like Magic, where like you put me on the clock, I'm probably going to make bad decisions, but you give me like a minute, I'll make some pretty good ones. So that's one of the things I love about JRPGs that you don't really get in like any other game ever. Mm-hmm. Like any other like video game at least. Dakota, what about you? What are some of your favorite like aspect of the JRPG?
Airships. I like flying airships.
Yeah, lots of airships.
Fantasy.
Oh god.
Yeah.
One of my favorite I'm gonna save it for later.
Yeah, save them. I like games with characters named Sid. So that's why I like JRPGs. Seriously though, I like the narrative. I'm a big narrative-driven guy. I love movies. In fact, this room that I'm in is decorated with movie stuff on the wall. And so the narrative aspect of JRPGs totally plays to me. I am exactly the kind of person that wants that from my games. Like, man, I love The Last of Us. The Last of Us, it's good. it's good, but the narrative is also especially good as well. So that's definitely what draws me to it. What about? Did you guys both already go? Chris, did we?
Yeah, I could bring up another one.
Okay.
I also like about him. I enjoy that they have usually such a really big, robust item system. That's and a lot of the. I think less about the item system, more about the magic system. Because, like, in a lot of other RPGs, like, you have to find a spell or something and keep going. JRPGs, it seems like the ways that the trees work for the different spells always is a lot... Since it's turn-based, you could do a lot of combos with it, right? There's, like, so many combinations because you have, like, so many turns.
Right,
and it's a lot of really weird and unique interactions that you can't, like, really have... in an action-based...
Yeah, you can't have them, like, outside of a turn-based
Because if you
system.
have well, you can, but it just becomes unwieldy. Like, it becomes too much happening, and it's very difficult. There was a JRPG that was called Tales of Symphonia. Actually, the Tales of series, a lot of those Tales of games, had a turn... It wasn't turn-based, it was kind of action, but everybody had, like, a couple attacks that they bound to buttons. And you would have those combos still interact, and you'd be fighting in a battle. It wouldn't be like a turn-based battle. It'd be a real-time battle, and you kind of like picked your target, almost like Z-targeting like Zelda, where you kind of pick one target to attack.
Right.
And blocking and attacking. And so there were combos, like if you did a spell, or you saw one of your allies doing a spell, or you could actually even pause the game and make one of your allies do a certain spell, and then you could combo your spell with it. I really like the comboing mechanic that happens in a lot of JRPGs. I don't really see it in a lot of other ones. I think that's mostly has to do with the fact that it's a party, right? That it's a big group of people that are always working together, so you really get that sense of them working together. So I think that's what I meant when I said that big item system. I guess I meant more the combo system, the magic system. It's more robust, I feel.
Yeah, you mentioned, like, the tree, like the talent tree. I fucking love the talent trees in almost any JRPG. Like... In Final Fantasy X, that was one of my favorite things, like the big, like, sphere grid, and how you could, like, pick which paths you get on. It's like, oh, do I want more, like, attack, or do I want more health, or, like, what do I want? And so, and, like, they usually, every JRPG that I've played, I guess not every one of them, but a lot of them, especially in the Final Fantasy series, they have, like, these really cool ones, so that's where you get to feel like you start making choices, Chris, like you were saying, like, you're kind of influencing the characters in a sort of way. I do like those a lot.
It's almost like one of the pillars of Final Fantasy games that every sequel they change the way that you do your skills.
Exactly.
So it's always way outlandish and pretty unique, and so that's always definitely a draw. It's like, ooh, how are they going to do it this time? And
I agree.
I agree. I'm right there with you. I definitely enjoy it. Except for 8, stock magic is bullshit.
Well,
and fucking dumb.
Not only that, Materia sucks. Materia was not fun. Anybody that played Final Fantasy VII. If they know what they're talking about, they will tell you Materia was bullshit. So
for sure, dude, that's like definitely rose tinted glasses. Like that game had a lot of good stuff going for it, but like the skill system is weak. It was totally homogenized. All of your characters could be exactly the same. That's not what you want.
I was like, oh, cool. So there's literally no reason to like not just. You can just spread it out however you fucking wanted. There was no, like in Final Fantasy X, like, Lulu is the spell bitch, so let's give her the spell stuff. And, and Auron is like the big, tanky sword guy. Let's give him the, like, no, it's just like, whatever you want to do. Like, you want Cloud to shoot fireballs? Cloud to shoot fireballs. Who fucking cares?
So while we're on a negative note, Mitch, what don't you like about most JRPGs? Like, something that most of them share in common?
Can I say boobs? Can I... Because, like, that's one of the things I don't... I said it as a joke at the beginning, but, like, I don't like how... I like the style of JRPGs, especially, like, the clothing and the hairstyles. Like, everything's, like, very, like, frou-frou and feels, like, effeminate. Like, I feel less manly playing the game because I'm like, man, all this shit looks fucking weird and, like, dumb, and there's tits everywhere, and it's like... I guess the game's trying to give me a boner or something.
They have to put huge tits on the girls because all the guys basically look like girls anyway.
No, it's because it's like a huge like Eastern culture thing. Is they love boobs and like I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan of like how how like maximized like the boobs are to the point where it's just like you're like playing a game like someone walks in and there's just like this chick and she's doing something weird with her and her tits are flopping around and the guy's just looking at you like, are you really fucking playing this game? And I'm like, the gameplay is really good and the storyline's good, but her tits are just all everywhere.
Mom,
I'm sorry,
it's no
man.
big deal, Mom. Don't
exactly.
worry
You're
about
like
it.
playing Final Fantasy X as a kid. It's like, Mom,
I mean,
just
I don't
you
think
always
that has
walk
to
in
do
when Lulu's doing something. Go away.
That's not. I mean, it happens often in the genre, but I don't think that defines the genre.
It doesn't define the genre. It's just one of the aspects of JRPGs that I could do. Okay, I'll give you a serious one. How about this? It's funny, Chris, that you said something about like how you kind of like the guided map. I don't like the guided map. I feel like I'm playing Pokemon Snap, where they're like, hey, look at all that cool stuff over there, but you can't do anything with that over there. You just keep going this way. Just move along.
I can understand.
I don't like that. I like a game like Skyrim where I can walk right over to the fucking temple and learn magic immediately. Like, that sounds awesome.
Well, you usually can like go to certain places. You just don't even know what's over there. It's not even like you could see it and can't access it. Most of the time it's like there's a fog, like there's the miasma there. Or it's like,
it's like, that's a bullshit way to say, like, you can't go over there.
Yeah, but you don't know what it's over there after anyway.
I'm just not a fan. Like, if you're gonna make it seem open world, like, make it open world. If you're not gonna make it seem, like, if it's not gonna be open world, like, don't lie to me. Just tell me that I can't go there.
I understand that, but I think I like it. I can appreciate it. It shows scale by the end of it, because you can still go back and forth to the places you've been. So it shows you that, like, oh, wow, this is a huge world. And you get to explore it slowly in a way that makes sense instead of being able to, like I said, go to Diablo's lair, just pound it, hang out.
Just pound it.
Just pound it.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, Chris. What are some things you don't like? Let's hear some nagging from the old man.
Some things I don't like. I don't like the writing sometimes, which is kind of like a weird thing. Like the whole thing is about the narrative, but oftentimes it's written in a certain way where it's almost like a young teen, like
it's melodramatic.
Yeah, it's super melodramatic, man. A lot of times, like sometimes I'd wish for a more mature themed, like thing. It doesn't even have to be mature themed. Like the Paper Mario series. Those could be considered JRPGs in the way that they're, it's a storyline, you go along the map, it's got the turn-based. They're for children, but it's like E for everyone. You know what I mean? It's like Pixar's, it's Mario. So like the humor in there is just like clever and witty, and it's not like melodramatic. And I loved that about it. It was just, it didn't take itself seriously at all. It's like, hey, we're a goofy Mario game.
Neither did the Mario RPG. Like, that was also a great JRPG game, and that was pretty much just exactly the same with shittier graphics.
Took like a lot of points from Super Mario RPG.
Right? Yeah, it's a great series of games.
Yeah,
great series of games. I feel the same way. You always feel like I guess like exactly like we said when we were kind of satirizing it. Like, you always have to go kill God. Like, it's just like, can we just like calm down for 1 second, please? Can we just relax? It's not. Not every game has to start with like the world ending and going to implode inside of a demon's like rectum or whatever.
All right. I guess for me, things that I don't like about the genre, I used to like the combat. I used to be there with you, Mitch, but I think I'm kind of over turn-based combat or menu-based combat. And that's okay because that seems to be an element of JRPGs that people tend to break the rule with anyway. There's plenty of JRPGs that already break that rule, and I'm okay with that. Some of the ones that are coming out, in fact, that we have to look forward to, don't seem to have such strict menu-based combat. So I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. I guess it's different strokes, and maybe sometimes I'm in the mood for it, but I don't know. It almost feels old-fashioned in a way at this point. I don't know if we're kind of beyond that.
I can see that. I mean, it's because it's all we had before. It's all we had. So every fucking JRPG from like the Game Boy, the SNES to like now, well, to almost now, like was the same. We all had the same turn-based strategy. So, I mean, shit. Now Final Fantasy VII, the new remake might not even have turn-based. Like, who knows?
Right. Yeah, I don't think it is going to. I think it's probably going to have whatever combat system Final Fantasy 15 has, if I were to guess.
I guess that just feels, like Chris said, like less involved. I remember when I played Final Fantasy 13, that was actually one of the things I didn't like about it was the combat system. It felt less like a group. Like it just felt like I was playing like one character at a time, and I don't know. I didn't really like it. It wasn't as together.
I definitely can see how it gets stale because, like, you know, the turn-based. But I think a lot of games or newer JRPGs in the space have really messed with the formula in really cool ways. Like the Paper Mario series, you know, you kind of have the turn-based attacks, but then sometimes you have to do like special button presses or times to get like a critical hit. There was a really, really awesome JRPG style. It was made in America by an American company. It was on Xbox 360 called Lost Odyssey. And that was a JRPG that was phenomenal. Like, it had the mature theme. It wasn't like all about kids. It was about immortals. Like, it was still kind of like, you know, dealing with God. Like, it didn't really deal with God. It was like a couple of the characters were immortals. And then, like, in the fights, there was like a circle system where, like, you had to hit the circles at the right time during the combat. Yeah. So even though you did the menu combat, there was still an aspect of, like, skill somewhat involved.
Oh, yeah, okay. So you still, like, not like just going, like, click, click, click. Yeah, it's not just, like, click, 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 click.
Kind of like quick time events, but, like, if you missed, you just didn't get the extra crit or whatever. And you had to, hit it a couple times in a row and stuff. That's really quick aside. That game was awesome. If you ever find a copy, it didn't really sell too well. Nobody knows why. It was amazing. They had, like, throughout the game, they had these phenomenal side stories because this character, the main character, was an immortal and he lost his memory or something. But you'd go through and he'd slowly get parts of his memory back, and it would be in like a story. Like, it'd just be in a cutscene and it'd just be like a black screen and sometimes like some white, cool like art going on. And it was a long story, and some of them would be like about him being locked up in a prison with some old revolutionaries, and since he's immortal, he was locked in this prison for like 500 years or something. So he just talked about like the lifespan of these men in the prison and how like they had these ideas, like, and they slowly were just broken down.
With the men that I'm going to talk about for years on end. So just chilling with the men I'm going to talk about for years on end.
But like, it just like talked about how they were broken over time and like how they'd all come in like, you know, oh, we're going to escape and whatever. It was just like a lot of really deep stuff and like a lot of really cool themes in that game. It was a really great. That's awesome.
One. Chris, speaking of the little QuickTime events, they actually had that in Final Fantasy X when you would do like your limit break. Like, there would always be like a really cool series of buttons, or like you had to spin the joystick and then do this. Like, you always had like some sort of combo. I actually loved this. This is one of my favorite things about Final Fantasy X too.
I never played I only played the first two Final Fantasies, so I never really played anything after
well, then this is the perfect time to ask, are you excited for Final Fantasy 15?
I know nothing about it and don't own a PlayStation 4, so I didn't care about it. Like, I'm sure it'll be fun, and I'd probably enjoy it, but since I won't be able to play it, it's not even on my radar.
Dakota, what about you? You have a PlayStation 4.
I do, and I will like 95% chance get the game, but I might wait for reviews first. I used to be a fanatic, man. I used to be like Final Fantasy, bought, pre-ordered, whatever. Not anymore, man. Not since 13. I didn't even enjoy 12 that much.
12 was awful.
A lot of people did. It
was
awful.
They're bad. They're bad. They're bad people.
The story was too political for me. I think it bored my my high school, my puny little peanut high school brain. But I don't know. I guess
that's a revered one too. 12.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I've heard good things about. You can go download a new demo for 15 right now. I've heard vaguely good things about it, so I've got my hopes up. The cast is definitely that Final Fantasy style boy band looking cast. So I don't know, we'll see. But did you see the clip of the Chocobo power sliding?
I did see the clip of the Chocobo power sliding.
That was fucking cool. You got to admit, power sliding Chocobos. Come on.
It just doesn't. It looks like the same old Final Fantasy bullshit. Like, they're not. And I guess that's like what everyone loves, but like one of the guys in the boy band literally looks like Cloud. He looks like a spitting image of Cloud. And then there's like a mechanic chick that looks like Riku. It's just like, it's just the same fucking shit over and over again, except now there's a car. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like now there's like
and for some reason,
real time
they've
car.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's a buddy road trip story. It's like, what, really, in the JRPG? All right,
What?
I guess.
Yeah, this is like the
Road
first. This is one of the first like JRPGs that like, at least from my vantage points that I've seen, looks like it's in like the like modern day. Like they're just driving down a highway, and I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
is this a Final Fantasy game or is like, what is this? I don't understand. But then there's still like a giant fucking demon beast with one horn broken off. Like, so obviously it's still.
And you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's fine.
there it is. Yeah, there it is right there. And then the guy like jumps in the air and like pulls it. Yeah, exactly. But I'm just not impressed. I'm going to wait. I'm going to take the back seat on this one.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
Are there any other sweet JRPGs coming out that we should know about? I know Persona 5 came out not too long ago.
Well, I mean, I guess we should talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake, at least briefly. What do you guys think, Midge?
I need to know more. Like, we did a whole episode on it, so I don't want to get into it too much, but I need to know more. There's so many, like, gray question marks that I need answered first. Mm-hmm. How deep are these, like, individual discs going to be? What is the combat going to be like? How much of the story have they changed? I mean, I have a lot of questions.
Just last week, they came out again with a statement and said, no, you guys don't understand. Each disc is going to be a full game's worth of gameplay. And my thought is, okay, so does that mean at the end of the first disc, I kill Sephiroth 3 times in the middle of the earth? Because if not, then no, it didn't have a fucking full game's worth of content. Because that's what happens at the end of a full game.
Bro, spoilers, bro.
But I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I can't believe that they would still try to like press on the bullshit and try to say that it's a full game. Each disc is a full game. I mean, it's just
like
silly.
To be fair, like the first Final Fantasy VII was 4 discs, and like it was a bigger
I don't
game.
Think it was that long.
It was 4 discs. It was a bigger game than you remember. I think you. I think it's another case of rose tinted glasses. That game was not like a short game.
I think you have the rose tinted glasses by saying it's
Do I?
Yeah.
I think so. Like, I just respectfully disagree. I think it's like,
okay,
most of the game was like
I'm
on
wrong,
disc
I'm wrong.
1. You did a little bit of stuff on disc 2, and all disc 3 was when you opened up the earth and went down in the cave. That's it. So it's strange. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I still think that they're giving us marketing bullshit for sure. So I'll reserve judgment, I guess.
I guess so. Chris, any thoughts not having a PS4?
I don't care about it. The only game I'm looking forward to kind of is the this Shin Megami Tensei times X Fire Emblem. Like,
oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's right, Chris. You love Fire Emblem games.
Fire Emblem games are like they're really cool, so I like that. But it's crossing with this genre, like this game. I don't know, Shin Megami Tensei. I don't know what that is.
Oh Shin Megami Tensei.
It looks like Fire Emblem people in modern day Tokyo, or maybe like slightly future Tokyo. And so that looks really interesting to me, and it has to deal with like pop stars and stuff. So I'm just imagining like magic people like beating up pop stars. Like, I don't know, it looks like really bizarre and weird. And the trailer looked really awesome, and it's coming out on Wii U, and that they haven't seen JRPG since like Xenoblade. So that's the only one I'm really
Final
looking
Fantasy
forward
X2 taught me anything, it's that JRPGs always have pop stars in them.
to. Oh yeah.
Oh god. Oh god.
I actually like that. I actually like that one quite a bit.
X2? You mean the one
X2,
you mean Final Fantasy X2 that one girl Yuna is crying the whole time?
It has a job system, and I really like job systems. I don't know why I didn't mention that when we talked about things that we liked.
Final Fantasy crying. That's what that was. Yep. Final Fantasy whining. All right, let's do. So you're talking about your favorites. Let's do a Peakest to Weakest. We haven't done one of these in a while.
Peakest to Weakest.
No.
Let's do a Peakest to Weakest.
Peakest to Weakest. Oh shit.
So we're gonna Chris, as always, we start with you. So give me your. We're gonna do top 3. Chris, give me your third stiffer.
This is difficult, man. Top 3. It's always difficult every goddamn time. I'm gonna pick for my number 3. I'm gonna pick Skies of Arcadia.
Oh,
have you guys ever played that?
All right.
Nope.
No.
It was originally on the Dreamcast. They re-released like a HD version on the GameCube. It was airship pirates. Like, I mean, I don't know what else. And it came out at a perfect time like for me to enjoy that game. Like it was a bunch of teenage airship pirates when I was like 13 years old or something.
Let me find my surprise face.
Yeah.
There you go.
It was super fun, man. At the time, I had never played a 3D RPG at the time, like a JRPG. Like I never played Final Fantasy. I always thought it was cool, but it was like I don't know how to describe it, man. It was a huge world, and you eventually got a lot of people on your airship. Like you went around and got people on your crew for your airship, and it wasn't just your battle team; it was also your airship team. And there were some airship battles that you had, and it was an enormous world with like it was the first time I ever like really got invested in a JRPG. Well, the second time I really got invested in a JRPG, but I'll leave that for later. So Skies of Arcadia, absolutely amazing game. I wish they'd do something else with that.
Teenage airship pirates saving the world. Like that's got
so
JRPG written all over it.
Flew around this giant air map, and there was a lot of places kind of like, I know that you'd like the overworld, like you'd wish you could like explore more. You got an airship, so you could explore a lot of the world, and eventually you got a thing where you could like go below these like dense clouds to like this bottom floor.
So
Earth.
Some other bullshit thing for why I can't go everywhere I want to go. See? It's always a bullshit thing. It's always a bullshit thing.
But it was fun. It was a great game. I had a lot of nostalgia feels for that game.
It sounds sweet. It sounds sweet. Dakota. Give me your number 3. Give me your number 3.
My number 3, I was trying to remember it, man. Like, I played this game in high school, and I hardly remember anything about it now, but the game was called Shadow Hearts Covenant. And I played it, I think it was on PS2, and it was a JRPG, but it was set in Europe. It was set in both Eastern and Western Europe, if I remember. There was like a war going on. So it was set in the real world, which was strange to me for a JRPG. It's not something I had encountered before. And man, I wish I could remember more about it, but I do remember that the characters, even though it was set in the real world, the characters were as Japanesey as ever, man. They were wild.
Geez.
Like in like the coolest way. Like I remember one dude, he was like your big brawler character. He had like this big totem that he would swing around, like huge, like almost like Tauren style, like Warcraft style.
Nice.
And I think, God, I hope I get this right. He was French, and his like limit break thing, he would turn into this like gay as shit superhero character called the Grand Papillon, which means the big butterfly in French. And he would put this little mask in front of his face that had like these frilly, like it was like oh God, it was amazing. And then he got like even stronger, and very interesting characters, very interesting combat mechanics, if I remember too. Each character had something different going on. And that game too, Chris, had a bit of the kind of a deeper combat where you had to hit the button at the right time as like this thing flew around the meter kind of. So it was doing some things that I hadn't seen before in the genre, and so that definitely caught my eye.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Le Grand Papillon.
Grand Papillon.
All right, well, my number 3 is actually, this is weird, and I was telling you guys about this earlier. I didn't actually play this game, but I watched it be played a lot. And I was really like invested in it as far as like caring about what happened, and like anytime the person, Chris, you can probably call it out. So Big Lou's actually in the chat, and she was playing it, and I watched her play it a lot. And it was just like, I remember loving, it was, so the game is called Ni no Kuni. And I remember just like loving the art style of that game, like immensely. Yes. The art is gorgeous.
It was made by Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, it's made by Studio Ghibli, so I'm already like, fucking sign me up. And it, like, the storyline was just like really adorable, but also really fucking dark at the same time. And the combat system was like super badass. It was like Pokemon meets Final Fantasy is like what it looked like. You like captured monsters everywhere, and then you had like this weird turn-based fighting style, and you like it was not really turn-based because it was like
it was Pokemon meets Tales of series.
Yeah, it was amazing combat, to watch. Yeah. It was like active combat, but it was like active combat with
menus.
Like menus though. Yeah. So it was a strange like way to break the rules. Mm-hmm. It was very interesting. You could like at any moment just like pull someone out just like Pokemon. I mean, it's great. It's such a and like I said, like the art style was incredible. The storyline seemed pretty cool. And you got to beat up someone's dad. Like that was awesome.
Oh man. So little Freudian slip right there.
Yeah, For real.
I didn't even mean it like that. I just meant, I meant it like that. We're going to move on. So give me, Christopher. Christopher, your
Twostifer.
Your Twostifer.
Twostifer. Oh,
Chris
I remembered
Twofer.
the main character of Skies of Arcadia. His name was Vice. Vyse.
Oh my.
And
my God.
And he had an eye patch with the see-through glass on it, though.
Like a monocle?
Yeah, like a monocle eye patch. So
Sounds
that was
perfectly
another reason
reasonable
it
to
was
me,
so
man.
good. But
Oh my God.
my second favorite JRPG of all time is Tales of Symphonia, which I mentioned
Obviously.
before, because of, like you mentioned, Dakota, it had things that I had never seen in a JRPG before. It had that active combat with the menus, and it had such a great cast of characters. Like, it had this dude who was like a prisoner, and he left on his shackles because like of his shame and stuff, so he only did kicking attacks, and so all this stuff was like combos. And then you had like the mage, the little mage kid, and then you had like the girl who was like some like immortal girl or something, so she's like a little tiny girl with pigtails but a giant ass axe. And like but the combat and the style of that game, it lasted forever. The game was enormous, but the style of the combat was so amazing. Like, A was just a basic hit attack, and then you set your other moves to the other ability, like to the other buttons, and you could combo them with the other characters. So you'd like stop real quick and pick this guy to do like a flame strike, and then stop and have your healer do like some kind of water thing, and then you do like some kind of blade flurry.
Water thing.
So you'd be like water flamey tornado, and you'd like do it all, like you'd set it up for 1 second, and then you'd have to like actually kind of like get in the right spot and do it. Like in action, and so it just like felt so good.
He's really selling this one, isn't he?
Man,
I want to go play this game right now. Like, shit, Chris.
Dude, it's super good. They had a recent Tales of game that wasn't Tales of Xillia, I think, Xilia, and I don't know if it was as good, but man, that combat was great, and it was the first time I ever experienced anything like that. So Tales of Symphonia, by far, amazing. If you could play that one.
So I've got gameplay running right now in the video, Chris, and the person just got out of combat. You have to explain this one to me. Little text bar said, successfully made a sandwich.
Yeah. I think
what the fuck is that?
I think you were able to cook and stuff in combat. Like, it was a menu, so like you could pick like, okay, I'm going to attack, or I'm going to use an item. No, I'm going to combine an item and make a sandwich real quick. Like in the middle, like, you know.
Sure. Why not?
Just spread the mayo.
It's been years since I played that game, so I don't really even remember. Like,
yeah. Well, so is it my turn?
Yeah, it is your turn. The code's
two for me. I wish, I'm not a big JRPG guy. I've only kind of played the obvious ones, I guess, except for Shadow Hearts. Maybe that's not too terribly obvious. Yeah. But number 2 for me is Final Fantasy VII. It's a classic. Everybody knows it. Most people love it. I feel like I've got a kind of a realistic look of the game, as we were talking, Mitch. The materia system, while interesting and ties into the story in a very interesting way, the system itself, as far as gameplay is concerned, not great. But that was like the first. That was the first. I think that may have been the first JRPG I ever played. It's on PlayStation 1, right?
Yeah.
Because I never played the old SNES ones, man. I'm a goon. I have never played Chrono Trigger. I've never played Final Fantasy. I haven't finished Final Fantasy 6.
Chrono Trigger.
So 7 for me, like it's kind of like my OG. It's my first. You always remember your first kind of thing. So for me, it's FF7.
Dakota, I'm so glad you said that. I never played Chrono Trigger either. I've watched a lot of like the gameplay, but I never actually played it.
I mean,
it looks so fucking cool, man.
You can't watch the gameplay. Like, it was a game on its own. I'm gonna spoiler. It was number 4 on my list. Like, Skies of Arcadia only eked it out because I played Chrono Trigger a little bit later. Like, I had to play it on an emulator in high school.
Wait a minute, Chris, you played Chrono Trigger and it was not your number 1? Because this is sometimes revered as like the greatest game of all time.
No, it's phenomenal. Like, it was just like Skies of Arcadia, air pirate ships, and like it was so good for that's nostalgia feeling.
Teenage airship pirates. Like, what are you gonna do?
It was a perfect time for the game in my life, and it was great, and I love it, and it was so fun, and all the characters were like peppy and fun. Like, but Chrono Trigger, man, like the characters were so beautiful. Like it's a beautiful game. Definitely top 5, number 4 for sure. But I don't know, like it's really good. I don't know, man. I played it at a different time though.
Huh. Mm-hmm. Maybe if we were a little older, we would have all played it at the right time or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? My number two is actually the first JRPG I ever played, but was not my number one. It's just Pokemon. Like Pokemon is just fucking awesome. I played way too much Pokemon as a kid.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite one?
My favorite Pokemon? Zapdos. Yeah. Always and forever. Zapdos is the best.
Not the creature. What's your favorite game?
Can I say Zapdos still? What? Can I just keep saying Zapdos? Honestly,
so red or blue? OG?
I got Pokemon Red.
Okay. Yeah, I got Red.
That was the first one I got. Chris, see? That was the first one I got. I got it for my 11th birthday with my see-through purple Game Boy Color. Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about. Man. I never put that game down. This is the great year of my life. I got Pokemon Red with my see-through Game Boy Color, and I got the first book of Harry Potter and started reading those. On my 11th birthday, I got both of those gifts. Like all 3 of those gifts at once. Like,
wow, that was like a 11-year-old wet dream right there.
Yeah, it was the fucking...
An 11-year-old's wet dream. That's very different.
Yeah.
2 different things.
Yeah, no, it was I mean, just Pokemon, like the way that they combined like 2 different things. Like you're playing as one person, like you're playing as Red or Ash or I don't know, Butt Munch if you wanted to call him that. But you're also playing, I guess technically, as this band of Pokemons at the same time. So you get that like, I want to be the best, but you also get that like, I want to level up my team. You get both, which like you don't see a lot in these JRPGs. And so that's one of the reasons that I think that it's like it should be like a lot higher rated than a lot of people give it credit for. I mean, Pokemon did a lot of things that a lot of games did not do at the time, and it's fucking still around, and they haven't changed the formula at all. They just keep
the most important thing that they did was
introduce
JRPGs to young American kids.
Yes.
I mean, that's huge.
That's humongous.
But see, my problem, Mitch, with the series is what you just said. They haven't changed the formula at all.
Yeah,
I think you could use a little bit of iteration, I think.
Well, you know what? Pokemon Go is coming out, and we're just going to all get to play Pokemon in real life, so who cares?
God.
Who fucking cares?
I'm going to hop on this board, and I'm going to go to my first defer, which is Pokemon Red.
Hell yeah, motherfucker.
That was my first, like, I owned an NES when it was out, and like, but I was a kid. Like, I was, 6 and 7. I wasn't going to read. I didn't have the option to really play those kinds of, like, those kinds of RPGs. And I didn't know about, like, Secret of Mana and, like, Chrono Trigger when I was, like, 9 years old. Like, I didn't really understand if, like, what a good game was, really. Like, I knew there were good games, and I had a bunch of them, but I didn't know what to look out for. But Pokemon was my first JRPG experience. And by far, like, my first experience of Pokemon was at summer camp. And one of my friends at summer camp, he had, like, his Game Boy, and I was like, oh, is that Pokemon? I heard about it, whatever. So this guy, I don't know why he did this, but he, like, let me borrow it for, like, a couple weeks. Not at, like, only when we were at camp. Like, and for those 2 weeks, every day I'd go into camp and be like, hey, you got that shit? You got that stuff? And he'd be like, hey, here you go. And so I'm like leveling up my War Turtle, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so good. Get over here, fucking Zubat. God damn. It was the best summer I ever had. And then, like, after those couple weeks after this kid left, and I was like, back to school, and I'm like, I don't got no Game Boy, and I got no Pokemon. This is the worst life I could ever live.
Yep.
And then I saved up
not for long. Not for long, though, Chris.
Saved up everything I had to get. At Costco, they had the purple Game Boy, see-through purple Game Boy, bundled with Pokemon, a Link cable.
Oh, shit.
And the original Pokemon guide, which I'm sure I have in that bin of my guides over there. I'm going to have to show it to you by the end of the show. But by far, Pokemon Red, my all-time favorite RPG. It's what got me. It was my first RPG. You always remember your first.
Yeah.
So, Chris, what is your favorite Pokemon then?
My favorite Pokemon? Articuno. Actually,
not the Pokemon, Chris, the game.
Oh.
No, I was asking the favorite Pokemon. I was actually asking the favorite Pokemon.
Articuno and War Turtle are tied.
Chris, we both have like legendary birds as our favorite Pokemon.
Because Articuno Ice Bird, bro.
Wow.
Fucking Zapdos.
Really
he's
creative
the best.
picks,
No,
guys.
but
Dakota, what's your favorite?
Wartortle is kind of probably my favorite because he's like the weirdest one. Like, it's like Squirtle's like a little turtle, and then like Blastoise, he's like a giant tortoise, like a giant. And then Wartortle's in the middle with like weird like head.
He's got like machinery on his back. Yeah.
Like he's got the little weird head. Like feathers.
Didn't he have like feather things?
Yeah, feathers
like
and fangs. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? He was the coolest one. I didn't want to evolve to Blastoise. Blastoise was way lame compared to Wartortle.
No,
and
dude, Blastoise had hydro pumps on his shoulder. Blastoise had hydro pumps on his shoulder. I'm sorry, you can't.
Yeah, but that's
you can't
like
argue
lame,
against
and
that.
he never even used it. He always shot it out of his mouth anyway.
5 times, Chris. You could use it 5 times.
Yeah, that had 5 peepees, Chris. It had 5 peepees.
5
Dakota,
peepees.
while we're on the subject, what is your favorite Pokemon? Let's just get
My
it out of the
favorite
way.
dreams have 5 peepees too.
Oh.
My favorite Pokemon was Haunter. Definitely.
Oh,
Definitely
Haunters, that's a good choice.
Yeah.
That's a good choice. Haunter, because you couldn't evolve Haunter unless you had a link cable and friends.
Well, it's funny, like, speaking of not wanting to evolve him.
No friends.
Yeah, it's
he
like,
never got to Gengar. Oh, poor Dakota. That's all right, buddy.
only loners, like, but along the same lines, I wouldn't even want to if I could. Gengar's dumb. He's just a fucking semicircle, you know? He looks like nothing. He looks like a Pac-Man ghost.
He doesn't look like a semicircle at all.
He looks like he looks like a half of a pill. He looks just like I can't describe it. This is very bad audio, but this is the shape. This is the shape of the Gengar.
Dakota, we can't see you, remember?
I prefer Haunter. I prefer Haunter. He looks way cooler. But that's not my favorite RPG.
Okay, so yeah, let's give us your number one JRPG, Dakota. Here we go.
My number 1 JRPG is one that we've already mentioned briefly, and that is Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy X.
Dakota, that's my favorite too.
Woo!
Bro.
High five from across the nation.
I got you, bud.
All right, so I'll talk a little bit, and then you can talk, and then we can talk together.
We'll talk together, bro. It's fine.
Emergency meeting.
Something that stands out to me about Final Fantasy, we talked about the tropes. Oh my God, Chris has his fucking Pokemon Red guide.
From
Jesus.
But look, in the middle, Nintendo Power.
The pages are stuck together. Chris, what's up with that?
It's by Jinx. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
In the middle, Nintendo Power. Look, pristine sticker collection
By Mr. Mime.
of all
What'd you say, Chris?
151 Pokemon. Pristine stickers.
What? Oh my God, stickers. Awesome. Maybe we can give them out to... No, okay.
No, no one's touching these. Actually, 150. Mew's not on this bitch.
So yeah, my favorite Final Fantasy X. Something that stands out about it that that kind of just occurred to me while we were talking is we were talking about the trope of it's always like you're the chosen one who is out to save the world. And Final Fantasy X turns that trope on its head.
They turn it right on its fucking head. I remember when I found out about that. Yeah, oh my God.
And without spoiling it, you think that's what's happening, but then it turns out to not be that at all.
Well, hold on. So what's our rule on spoiling games? Like, how old does it have to be?
Fuck it. We'll just talk about it. So you find out that you are actually not the chosen one. You're just the chosen one for the next 10 to 20 years, and then it's going to be somebody else, and then somebody else. You're only temporarily saving the world, but... nothing you can do can actually save the world.
Well, what's crazy is you temporarily save the world, and then you become the thing that someone else needs to save the world from. Like, you become the big fucking monster that's eating everything. Huh. Like, that blew my fucking mind. I was like,
it's a really cool, like, cycle of life kind of story. And to me, out of the few that I've played, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12... 13, that one had the most unique story in that regard, where it's like,
for sure.
Okay, we're gonna take this trope that they all kind of have, and then just totally turn it on its head, and like it's the whole bait and switch, and when you find out that beat, like you were saying, Mitch, it's like, whoa, it's pretty mind blowing, and for that, it will always stand out in my mind. It's very unique in that regard.
Yeah,
the music is bombastic.
The music is the best fucking part.
Mitch.
Oh my god, the music is one of my favorite parts of this game. It's the reason I learned how to play piano. Like,
it's beautiful.
Oh,
and it's got like a really good cadence to the gameplay too, because like sometimes in a JRPG you can kind of get lost in like the larger story where it's like, okay, like I know I'm trying to save the world eventually, but what am I doing in the meantime? Well, nothing very specific. But in 10, you're doing very specific things. You have kind of checkpoints that you have to go along the world. Yeah, represented by the temples. So you always have like a short-term goal as well as a long-term goal, and so the pace always seems right. You're always in fresh areas. I mean, you're always in fresh areas in all JRPGs, but it's got kind of a good cadence to it. So
the only thing I didn't like was that long road, like just the really long path that you have to go down for like what feels like forever,
and it doesn't like that.
Yeah, and it's just the fucking worst. But other than that, the whole game, I also loved, like, yes, it does have a lot of, like, tropey characters, but I don't know what it is about these characters specifically, but I fucking love them. Like, Waka was the coolest fucking character they've ever
like fucking Hawaiian, right?
He was like a Hawaiian blitzball player. Like, he was like a Hawaiian,
and blitzball was awesome. Like,
and blitzball,
JRPGs... So
Blitzball.
JRPGs often have like sweet mini games. That's not something that we've mentioned, but that seems to come up a lot in the genre. And Final Fantasy X's mini game was a sport, an underwater kind of rugby, basically.
Yeah.
And you could recruit characters, and they would all have stats and abilities you could equip. It was like a fully functional sport tactics game inside of Final Fantasy X, and it was dope. I loved Blitzball.
Yeah, I not many people did, but to get Waka's legendary item, you had to like do a lot of blitzball shit and like win some big championship or get the highest rank or whatever. I definitely fucking had Waka's legendary ball because I loved playing blitzball so much. So the game is just phenomenal. I've played quite a few JRPGs, but this one is definitely one of the ones that stood out for all of the reasons we've mentioned and many more. If you've never played it, it's definitely one that you should probably pick up and play for sure.
Well, now I won't.
All right, guys,
the ending.
There's actually parts to the ending that I haven't even told you, by the way, so I didn't even fully spoil it.
Yeah.
Are they going to have
he
to
just
kill
gave you the mid-game
times?
twist.
Yeah, I just gave you the mid-game twist. Yeah. Oh, a quick aside, Dakota, real quickly. So, in Final Fantasy X, there was like this stupid little like circular grid thing, and you ran down the paths, and it was really great. And the first time I ever played this game, I loved it. And
Talking about the skill system.
The skill system, yeah, like how you get your attributes and stuff like that. And everybody had their own like section of this really fucking large grid, and sometimes they would run into each other, but then they would deviate again. And you could get like these different little things that would let you do things on that grid. I don't remember what they're called, so I'm gonna call them spheres for right now. There was just one.
I think it's called the sphere grid.
Yeah, it's called the sphere. Okay, yeah. So there was this one sphere you could get that was called a friend sphere, and you could teleport wherever you were on the sphere grid to the starting point of someone else's sphere grid. And I was like, let's fucking have Titus learn magic. Like, that's cool. Titus being like the main like hack and slasher, right? Yeah, that was a terrible idea. I did not learn Hestaga, and I literally just could not beat Seymour in one of the fights. Like, you literally couldn't do it.
Man.
And I had to start all the way over. Because like there was no save like all the way back to the beginning or like a few saves back. And I tried so much to beat this one fight on the mountain, and I literally couldn't because I was like two notches away from. Yeah, it didn't even matter. So bad experience with Final Fantasy X. I had to tell you because we were talking about it. All right, let's move on to the Metabet.
The Metabet is the game where we bet on the Metacritic score of an upcoming video game. Last week, these guys lost, and so what that means is I got to assign them a stipulation. What I had them do was play some crummy little free-to-play cowboy game, and they shot each other up.
That was an awful experience.
Why don't I let you guys take it away and tell me how it went?
I mean, at the time it was kind of awful, but looking back on it, it was fun. Even at the time, for a bit, it was fun. Like, it felt like a mod more than a game, really. Like, I don't want to put the guy... But it is an early access, so we could give him that. But, I mean, it even boots up in, like, the Half-Life 2 launcher. It was a cowboy game. It was a first-person shooter cowboy game. When you start... There were a couple game modes, but most of the time you just start off and you pick, like, of a bunch of different revolvers or, like, rifles. They had some cool weapons, like a tomahawk and, like,
The yellow boy?
The yellow boy, that was a rifle. And so...
Whoa, guys.
Hey. And then, so we played a couple warm-up rounds one day, but we were so super tired. And then we're like, okay, we're just going to do this another day. And then the next day we got on and we did our duels. And the duels were pretty good. Mm-hmm. They were close. We ended up... I don't know how we keep doing... We honestly don't, like, script this or anything. But we literally played best 2 out of 3 and went to 3 rounds. We didn't get to, like, overtime in the third one. But we still went to the third round.
It was the Thomas the fucking Tank Engine in the second map. There was a train that ran through the middle of the map.
The one with the saloons on either side and then, like, the tracks down the middle of the town.
Yeah. Yep.
Right on. Mitch, how'd you like it?
I did not enjoy it at all. I thought it was very boring. I thought that there was not... it wasn't interesting enough to merit having its own game. Like, it was just like a mod. It didn't feel like... It felt like a shitty version of Counter-Strike with
It looks like a CS
guns.
mod.
Yeah.
Is it?
It's either a CS mod... It's definitely on the Source engine for sure.
Yeah,
like,
when you open it, like, it's got the Half-Life 2 logo for the launcher. Like...
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's just...
It's a legit mod.
It's in early access, and it was, like, slightly fun, but do I see myself playing this game for the foreseeable future / have I already uninstalled it? No / yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I played a little bit of it, even though I didn't have to, and I kind of enjoyed my time with the game. I probably played it for an hour and a half or so. But I was playing in full lobbies with, like, 2 teams, like, team deathmatch style. I thought it was cool. It's like the revolver mechanics, the reloading is super slow, so you got to be real conservative with your ammo.
I did like how kind of not realistic, but it kind of got closer to realism. There was old that's what I'm saying. It reminded me of old mods because on Unreal Tournament 2004, I played a mod that was it ended up being a release, Red Orchestra. And it kind of reminded me of, like, there were a lot of games out like that at the time. They just tried to, like, do something really interesting or new in the first-person shooter space, and everything kind of seemed the same kind of generic thing. And this, even though it had the cool mechanic, like you were mentioning with the revolver, like, you actually had a fanning mechanic, where if you hold the right click, you put your other hand over the gun, so that you keep shooting and, like, doing the reload, the cocking.
And you had to pick if your guy was left-handed or right-handed, and that would make him be either better at, like, accurate shooting or better at fanning the hammer quick shooting. And so there was a couple interesting things going on.
A couple cool ideas. Some of the map design.
So Chris ended up winning.
Oh yeah,
Chris ended up beating me in the best of 3.
Excellent.
Yeah,
excellent.
So he's assigned me that I have to play as the cowboy in Brawlhalla for the next week. At least 10 matches, just to cowboy fight, cowboy loss.
You know what you guys could do while you're not playing Overwatch is just practice your McCree game.
That's absolutely right.
Why you gotta hit me there, Dakota? Why you gotta hit me there?
We actually have a video of our time. Also, that's going to be coming up probably on Thursday.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, they can look forward to that. All right, so this week we are betting on a new game. It's a new week. It's a new bet. This week we are going to... we're going to recap the bet from last week. So last week we bet on Ratchet and Clank for the PlayStation 4.
We did. I'm excited to see how this one turned out.
Let me review the scores from Peakest to Weakest. Chris up top, 88. Strong 88. I'm right below him with 87. And Mitch is down low with 82. Today, the day of release, based on 55 critic reviews, Ratchet and Clank for the PlayStation 4 has a Metacritic score of 86. Me the winner. Once again. Suck it, nerds.
Wow, you were almost right on the money with that too.
I was, and you know what? I think earlier in the day, I've been looking at the score intermittently. I think Chris was winning earlier because we're so close. We're 1 point away, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to like get ready to lose again." And then when I checked it right before we did the show, boom.
Damn,
Chris, I have been on the worst streak of losing. I'm like Chris from like 4 weeks ago.
Because 2 of us are losers every time, man. It's
but
so
I'm
more
just
likely now.
All right. So Dakota, what are we
Chris,
doing?
You said you had some ideas, actually.
Yeah, I had a couple ideas. One of them being something I completely forgot. The other one,
sick. So I want to do that one.
Yeah, we'll do exactly.
The other one is, since we talked about JRPGs. There is...
Oh, God damn it. No, please.
A free-to-play JRPG on Steam.
Okay.
And I figure we'd have to play about an hour each of it. maybe play an hour worth
Okay.
of it. Or 2 hours.
That sounds thrilling.
It's called... Hold on, let me find the exact name. Because I know what it is. Okay, yeah. Okay. It's Jesus Christ RPG Trilogy.
So the stipulation this week is Jesus Christ RPG Trilogy, and you guys will just report back, give some feedback, some impressions.
Yeah, and this one we don't have to do together, Chris. We'll just record ourselves playing a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what that means?
My
It was released
God.
on
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's
Jesus
the game.
Christ, indeed. All right. Okay, well, that sounds good to me. For this week, we are going to bet on a new game, and
That's a different kind of JRPG. It's a Jesus RPG.
Yeah, bro.
WWJRPG. All right, so this week we're going to be betting on a new game.
He's still laughing.
While Mitch composes himself.
Got his face covered. He's gonna die.
The game that we're going to be playing is called Lichdom Battle Mage. It's coming out on the PlayStation 4 next week. There weren't a lot of huge games, so this is the one I found. But it's actually good because it's made by Xaviant, our boys who make the culling. They made a console game. I had no fucking idea.
Was this released on PC a while ago?
Ooh, you know, it very well may have been. It's coming out on PlayStation.
Because I think I was actually looking at this game a while ago.
Okay, well, don't look because I don't want you to see reviews.
Okay.
It was released in 2014. There was an
there you go.
earlier version of it.
Okay.
Okay, good. So yeah, this is it looks to be kind of like a first-person, self-serious Magicka.
Yeah.
That's what I gather. It's supposed to have
It
like
looks really cool, actually.
Yeah, it's supposed to have really unique, cool, like dynamic spell casting where you combine elements and stuff like Magicka, but it's first person and it's not. It doesn't look like it has a sense of humor, which is fine. You know, not every game does.
Yeah.
So Lichdom Battle.
This
Mage.
game looks sick as hell. I want to play this game. Holy shit! Okay, let's vote on it. Okay, so
Mitch.
what do I think? What do I think?
Got my number written down.
I don't have it because I clicked the wrong tab.
Get with the program.
Okay, I have my number.
I have my number.
All right, let's hit him on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Yeah.
I felt like I was going low here too.
Peakest to weakest. He felt like he was going low, but he is in fact the peakest. Mitch is up top, 78. I'm in the Man Witch with 74. And Chris is at the bottom with 71.
Yeah.
Wow, we
God.
don't believe, do we? We don't believe.
Well,
it looks fun, but it doesn't look
that's
good.
one of the
Is that a
reasons
fair statement?
I didn't get it because I really wanted. I love mages. I love like spell casting and stuff. But everybody said it was kind of repetitive. It didn't really have like a full story mode. And
Yeah,
I could
it looked
see
like that people were doing the same thing over and over again in the video. I was just like,
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. Those types of games never tend to do well, so I just went with the odds.
Okay, cool.
All right. Well, as always,
Lots on
Analog
Metabet.
Stick Radio is brought to you by BitCultures. Now, BitCultures is a site that features video game reviews, opinion pieces, and digital media just like this right here. If that's something that you're interested in, be sure to check them out, www.bitcultures.com. If you want to reach any of us Analog Stick Rad guys over here, you can email us at analogstickradio@gmail.com or tweet us at ASR Podcast. We record right here on twitch.tv/analogstickradio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, and we're published the following Thursday to any podcast tracker, including iTunes. So pick your favorite, download us, follow us, post some comments, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. Once again, guys, any parting words before we go do some shit?
I don't think so. Let's go hop on our airships. Get out of here.
Hop on their airships. Yeah, I got parting words. I just applied to Twitch. So Twitch, if you guys are watching this, hire me. Hire me.
Hey, that guy.
Except, well, wait, will you still have time to record the podcast if they hire you?
Yeah,
He will
hopefully.
be the
sweet.
podcast.
Ooh, well, for myself, Chris, and Dakota, soon to be the podcast, this has been Analog Stick Radio. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
See ya.
Later.